Hey guys, Alex W. Leith here again for Magnetic Repellent. And today I'm going to talk about the liability of home ownership. Everybody say, oh, a home, owning a house or a home is the American dream and we should all have one. And to some extent, I agree with that. But many times, if not planned properly, it can be a liability and not an asset. And do we know the difference between a house and a home? There is a difference. Buckle up, get ready.
You are now watching the Magnetic Repellent Show.
So for the average American, a house is probably the largest purchase you'll probably make in your lifetime. And it's definitely considered an asset because houses typically increase in value. Property values typically go up over time, things of that nature. So it's definitely an asset. It's a very essential way to build generational wealth, to leave to your loved ones, primarily your children or grandchildren, any event of your passing. Well, you will leave here. You leave in this place. So leave to your children and grandchildren. And it's a wonderful thing. But at the same time, it can be a liability if you don't plan correctly. And what I mean by a liability is if you're a regular average worker, you're a 9-to-5er, you get paid once every 2 weeks, once a week, and you're struggling to get by, you got just enough to get back to work, and you got that JOB, which is an acronym for just over broke, okay? You're not thinking about the house as an investment. You're going to live there. And if you're going to live there and you haven't planned accordingly, it's going to be a liability because you're going to be busting your ass to pay for it. Remember, the bank owns the house all the years you're paying for it. Mortgages are typically 30-year mortgages, and mortgage is actually a French word that means death, which means you're going to pay until you die. Okay, so this is crazy, but that's what the word means. So, when you're paying that mortgage and you're struggling every month to make that mortgage, because now there's no landlord. All the maintenance, the lawn care, if something breaks, the central air, if that breaks down, something go wrong with the roof, everything's on you. There's no calling the landlord. So a house can be a very expensive endeavor, not just to purchase, but to maintain. So if you're killing yourself to pay for this house, busting your ass week to week, month to month, so forth, that is in fact a liability. What makes it an asset is if you're using the house to generate income. In other words, renting the house out, maybe buying a duplex. You can live in one, rent the other one, get the rents, collect those rents, and then have your tenant paying your mortgage. Then now it's an asset because your tenant's paying your mortgage. The asset is increasing in value over time. You got comps in your neighborhood. For instance, if you spent, let's say you spent about $230,000 for your house, and maybe a few months later, the house down the road sells for $280,000. They just set a new comp for the neighborhood. So your house, if your house is bigger, or your house is made of brick, or anything like that, your house is now, in a few months, grew $50,000 in value. So not only do you have equity in the house, which is basically what you paid compared to what you owe, that's equity, but you also have appreciation, the house going up in value naturally over time. So you have all these valuable things going on, and you have a tenant paying your mortgage. So that's the main difference between a home being a liability or an asset. I still recommend home ownership, but you have to plan accordingly. You got to plan this thing out right. Now, what's the difference between a house and a home? Okay, good question. A house is the structure. Okay, you buy the structure, you look at it, you decide what you're going to do with it, rent it out, live there, whatever. But a house is basically just the structure. A home is what you make it. You move your family in, you put your furniture in, you paint the walls whatever color you want, you put the pictures up, you make it a loving family environment. That's a home. A house is just a structure. What you decide to do with it makes it a home. So, although I still recommend home ownership, I say you must plan accordingly. And I'm going to make a few videos about this. So, because it's very important to own property, but you must plan it out. You can't just go off emotion and say, I want to own a house. I want to own a house. You're going to get yourself in trouble if you don't plan right. Alex W. Leith here, Magnetic Repellent. Tune in next time. See you later.